Hello, everyone. This is Cody Lee of BlackCatBooks.org, author of I, the Dragon, Cool and Beautiful Rabbit Hole Lore and Fran, the upcoming Jaw the Dragon. So, 2023 is already shaping up to be a spectacular year for Nintendo. I would say it very well might be better than 2022, which overall was one of the best years for Nintendo, period. I've been saying for a while, the past, since, hmm, probably since the Switch generation started, is that we are in a new golden age for video games. People are moving away from PC, they're moving away from consoles, Xbox and PlayStation, they're moving away from mobile, and they're all coming to Nintendo platforms. Like, regardless of like whether they're playing Animal Crossing or Smash or Mario or Tears of the Kingdom, it's all Nintendo. And sooner or later, and it's becoming more and more more and more clear that it's going to be sooner. Eventually, other companies and brands will not be able to compete. The Elder Scrolls 6 won't be able to compete with Zelda. Starfield isn't going to go anywhere. Mass Effect will never make a comeback. Dead Space has somehow failed twice in the span of a year. And that was one of the most heavily hyped titles I knew of growing up. There were people I knew who put that on their best games, put the original Dead Space on their best games of all time list, in spite of the fact that it was nowhere near as good as Resident Evil 4, the game that it blatantly ripped off. So it's been a long, wild ride to get to this point, but we are fast approaching complete Nintendo dominance of the market, the Nintendo monopoly. And once that happens, once third parties are forced into this position where they actually have to make good games, we'll we'll enter an era of just high quality products from everyone. No more microtransactions, no more ridiculous big budget releases. Like, it's all just going to be like more about the games themselves rather than like how much a title has sold, or how hardcore the game is, or like what its marketing campaign is like, or anything like that. Like, we're already starting to move towards that point, honestly. But like, it's been like a very refreshing past couple of years, seeing games like Animal Crossing New Horizons just be indisputably the biggest games on the planet, with none of these like with no real like if ands or buts about it. Like when we dominated the Wii generation, there were all these justifications and excuses, and like game journalists managed to convince the public that it was a fad that would soon die, but it never did. The success of the Wii segued into the success of the 3DS, which led to the rise of stuff like Fire Emblem Awakening and Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. And then we had the Wii U, which had a vast array of great games come out in a very short period of time, including some of the best games ever made, The Wonderful 101 and Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. Like, and what's more is that, unlike stuff like Dead Space, which has been on sale for Xbox Live for $5 for years, Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, games like that are still selling today. Like, we're kind of at that point where you can't really write off a Nintendo console for not having any games, because there are dozens of games on Switch that you haven't played. Like, I don't believe that anyone who's serious about this hobby could look at like all these Nintendo games and like write off even a significant portion of them. Like, seeing someone like Arlo try to make excuses as to like why he's not excited for say Bayonetta 3, for example. The whole bit block thing of like, oh, it's not cute enough, this isn't Nintendo, it looks too anime, it's a turn-based JRPG, I'm not interested in that. Like, these guys, they're running out of excuses, really. Like, they're just coping and seething that other games other than their favorite genres exist. Games that appeal to different groups of people. And again, I think this is what it all boils down to, is that Nintendo is producing games that appeal to different groups of people. This isn't an Xbox and PlayStation thing where they appeal to stupid kids who want to LARP as soldiers or whatever, or like pretend to be like uh, just want to like pretend to be criminals or something in Grand Theft Auto. Like, no, you have games rail shooters, you have like party games, you have fighting games, you have platformers, you have like action adventure titles, open world games, RPGs, both action and turn based, like you have all this variety, this healthy variety coming to Switch right now. Like in January we're getting like Fire Emblem. February we're getting Octopath Traveler 2. March we're getting I believe Cereza and the Lost Demon and Fatal Frame 4. April is that might be Fatal Frame 4. And then May will have Tears of the Kingdom. Like I I find it very, very difficult to believe that there's a single gamer out there ever who wouldn't find a single one of those games appealing. Like really you should be like interested in all of them if you have any interest or in the hobby at all. But like real talk, Fire Emblem, great strategy RPG, the best on the planet, the most successful. Engage is going to be great. Octopath Traveler 2, harkens back to classic Final Fantasy. Really needs to be talked about more. That game looks gorgeous. Best turn-based combat I've ever seen. Cereza and the Lost Demon. Absolute kino that I'm sure is going to put most indie games to shame. Like, you have like Fatal Frame 4, which I hear is great. Tears of the Kingdom, which is the follow-up to one of the best games ever made, Breath of the Wild. Why exactly are people skeptical of Nintendo's near future? Like it's laughable to me that there are people out there, YouTubers, who are constantly making videos talking about how Nintendo is like on the way out and how like the Switch 2 needs to happen like today. No, the Switch is going to dominate in the near future. It's going to continue to dominate in 2023 and beyond, 2020, 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027. I expect this console to be around for a full decade. I expect this to be a Game Boy lifespan. I expect this to be like a phenomenon for quite some time. And when the console does get replaced, which I'm sure is inevitable, it's going to be like a new innovative thing that like sets the market on fire ever again. I don't believe we're ever going to be in a situation where PlayStation and Xbox can recover. I think they're on the way out. I think they're only selling because of like brand recognition and just sheer ignorance of the general population. But I think more and more, I myself am guilty of this. Like people are going to buy these consoles and then just not really buy any games for them because there's nothing to buy. Like there's just not all that many games out there. I've seen how little people play some of these titles on Game Pass. I played Yakuza when I had a Game Pass, and I remember scrolling through those achievements on like each and every one of those games, and I was shocked at just how many people who booted it up and played it like actually got through the first chapter. Like it's very obvious, very evident if you actually take the time to play those games that like how few people actually play Yakuza, how few people actually play Persona, who play like The Messenger or what have you. Like these games have no audience on those platforms. The people who are playing these games, the people who are enjoying these games are exclusively on Nintendo Switch. If you don't develop for Nintendo, you might as well just get out of here. You might as well just go bankrupt today because you are not going to be around 5 years from now.